Hello YouTube, I'm the Foam Witch, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made Rhea Ripley's Survivor Series mask. So let's do this. The first thing I did was to create a base, and I made this by using templates for a masquerade mask that I found on Etsy, which I will add the link in the description of this video so you can find it for yourself. This wasn't exactly the shape that I needed, but it gave a base that I could customize. I was able to make this mask into the shape that I needed by adding some foam at the sides and then cutting some of that foam off the top and making the eye holes bigger. The whole thing then got sanded with my Dremel using a sanding barrel attachment to tidy up all the edges and the seam lines. And this is how it looked once the base was the correct shape. I then attached some elastic, which is what made the mask wearable, and I just stuck this on using hot glue from Tig Supplies. I then moved on to making the horns, and to do this I made a messy looking shape out of tin foil, covered this in masking tape, and then drew on the different sections to give the sections of the horns. These sections then got cut out, giving a template that I could transfer onto the foam using 5mm foam to cut out the pieces. These then got a curve by heating up with the heat gun. The foam pieces then got stuck together using specifically for foam hot glue sticks from the incredible Tig Supplies. I will leave a link to their website in the description of this video if you want to check them out for yourself. The two horns then got stuck to the top of the mask, with the edges getting flattened and stuck together to make the shape a little bit better. I also used the same process to make the two little small horns that go at the top. For this mask I used a lot of foam clay, and this is the start of the sculpting, making it look like the horns were growing out the top of the mask. Foam clay takes a little bit of practice to get used to, but it is a great tool in the cosplay arsenal, and once it's dry it's super lightweight. I then sculpted in the shape of the nose, and then it was time to cover the whole mask in the foam clay. This was literally just a case of pressing the foam clay onto the base of the mask and pushing it around so it filled all the area. This mask had quite a lot of texture, so I didn't really need to be that neat with this, and it didn't really need smoothing out because that would all add to that detail. Once the mask was covered and before it dried, it was time to sculpt in the lettering on the side, the B for B, and also the veins that run through the mask. And this is how it was looking once all of those details had been sculpted in. I then moved on to the details of the horns and cut out all of these strips of 3mm foam. Each one of these strips then got sanded down with the Dremel, making the edges look a bit more jagged and more bone-like, which ended up looking like this. These all then got stuck on one by one on both of the bases until the horns were covered. I did have to change some of the shapes of those cut out details along the way just to make sure that they all fitted perfectly. I then went ahead and burnt some detail lines into the smaller set of horns. And this is how it looked once all of the details had been added and it was ready to start sealing and painting. To seal this mask, as with all my other projects, I use my favourite sealer, which is black flexi paint from the incredible Tig Supplies. This got brushed on by hand, and I did 2 layers on the mask itself because I didn't want to lose any of the details, and I did about 4 layers on the horns. This is how it looked once the flexi paint had fully dried and it was ready to start painting. To paint this mask, I used a selection of airbrush paints and obviously my airbrush, starting with a base layer of grey. Painting this mask was all about experimenting with different colours and different shades to make sure that it looked like the original. Very thin layers of red, brown and yellow tones were sprayed on top of the grey just to make it a little less flat and look a bit more natural. This was literally just trial and error. I did so many different layers of this, going back over things I'd already sprayed until I was happy with it. I then went around the edges with a darker black tone to add some more detailing. The vein details then got sprayed in various shades of red. A darker red was used for the base, and then very thin lines of a lighter red were sprayed in the middle, again just to give it a more natural, realistic look. I then went back over what I'd already sprayed, adding some more yellow, pink and brown tones to get the shading even better. It was then time to start painting the horns, and to protect the paintwork that I'd already done, I used some delicate masking tape. I then used a base colour of, I think it was chocolate brown, to cover the horns. Again, this was a case of using different shades of brown to give that natural textured look. A darker brown was sprayed on all of the edges, and then I went back in with a lighter brown in the middle sections. Again, just doing multiple layers until I was happy with it. This is how it looked once I was happy with the painting. I'd also flicked on some darker brown to add some spots because it looked like it had these in the original photos. I then went in with a black wash on the smaller horns so it got in the crevices of the score lines, again to add some more detail. This is how it looked once the painting of the horns was complete. The whole mask then got sprayed with a matte top coat sealer to protect the paint. And that, my friends, was the Rhea Ripley mask complete. I am a huge wrestling and also Rhea Ripley fan, so as soon as I saw this mask, I just knew I had to make it. If you are still watching this video, I want to give you a massive huge thank you. If you have enjoyed it, if you could give it a thumbs up like, that would be incredible. If you like crafting content like this and still haven't subscribed to my channel, if you could think about doing that now, that would also be fantastic. If you would like to support me and my channel even further, if you could consider pressing that thanks button, it would be so appreciated. Again, huge thanks for watching, and all I've got left to say is, I'll see you next time.